Damn, it just bashed my truck all the way up here to show everybody this wicked view on a sunny day. And the fog is here to greet me. What a joke. Oh well. Blue skies, first time in a long time. Crazy. Cursed. Woke up to blue skies, just about fell over. Couldn't believe it. Haven't seen the sky in weeks. So, bashed my way up the mountain, the logging road here. There's an unbelievable wicked view from up here, the valley, and all the snow-capped peaks. And I didn't even see this fog bank around the corner. I come up through the woods. The fog is completely screwing me. Can't win. I might clear off, you never know. But, as usual, the inbox is going bonkers. Dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people getting the courage up to admit to what they've seen and share it with everybody. You know, it's funny, one thing I'm realizing, well, I realized this quite a while ago, but it's getting more confirmed for me, is that it is the people, it's us, that where you get true knowledge from. That's where you get it. And I think obviously a big mistake is we're somewhere down the road, somewhere down the line, we made it okay and acceptable to let one single stranger in a room, let's just say a classroom example, a stranger you don't know and you don't know where they got their knowledge from, their information from, and they drill it into our heads nonstop to the point it's normal for us to go through life looking to seek approval or some kind of knowledge from one source, one person, to make it okay. Obviously that is very, very wrong. And I've found out, I hope you guys are all realizing it, that if you want to learn, if you want to gain real true knowledge, you have to get it from the community. You have to get it from your neighbors, co-workers, family. That's where you get the true knowledge from, obviously. I mean, look at all this true knowledge spilling out here from all over the world every single day. And that's where it is. That's where you get honesty from. That's where you get the knowledge from, the facts, right? It's true. But it's amazing how many individuals out there, this just makes them so angry. They just want me to shut up, and they want you guys to shut up. And they have no control. Pretty weird, eh? Imagine having that weird control freak gene in you. Or the need for power. It's creepy. It's a creepy one. It's created a lot of bad shit on this planet. Oh, I get lucky and see some. I'll get lucky and see some views in a minute. I'll swing the camera right now, just in case this is all you're going to get to see. Blue skies. How crazy is that? So, as you can see, I'm missing out on something here. Missing out on some good views. Beautiful place, huh? Mountains are where it's at, man. The fog's not. Okay, let's see what we got going on in here. I'm jumping on a plane tomorrow. So many, you guys. There's so much stuff going on out in the planet. If you haven't figured it out yet, it's the people you need to listen to. That's the only thing. That's it. That's it. That's the number one source for honest knowledge. Is community and people. Hello, Steve, and How to Hunt family. I've been a fan for about 3 years. My name is Jared Taylor. I got 2 short stories for you. So an indigenous friend of mine used to ride his quad every weekend at this abandoned gravel pit between the Agassiz and Hope. No, that's in southern British Columbia, not far from me. I believe the area is called Seabird Island. They would quad there every weekend all day long for hours, having the best of time as a youth just loving life. That'll change one day. He said he had this odd feeling something wasn't right, telling him to just stay home. As he was unloading the quad, they carried on anyways. Flying down this gravel road with his cousin holding onto his waist, they were doubling in 5th gear when all of a sudden a giant, hair-covered beast, about 10 feet tall, walked out directly in front of them. Being indigenous, they knew exactly what he was seeing. As he cranked a U-turn in 5th gear, surprised they didn't bail or hurt themselves, he noticed this stench. He raced back to the truck, loaded up, and as they were driving, his cousin said, "Did you notice the smell?" as he laughed. They never went back again. I got him to take me there last year, and it was still eerie as shit. I'm writing from Mission, BC. Thought I'd say that next. I'm writing from Mission, BC. Thought I'd say that to next story. This is my encounter with the UFO story. I'll just describe it, what I saw. If you want more of what it was, doing, where, and when kind of stuff, tell me to send it again, but I don't want this to be long. I seen a light up in the sky. Thought it was a street light. Drove around the corner to now seeing it crossing the road about 100 feet off the ground. We pulled over and I ran up to it trying to take pics. Cameras were shit on phones back then. LOL. It was this orange ball of light that was getting brighter and dimmer, constantly zero sound. It had a square object that was flying around it so fast that it was leaving tracers behind it. It was glowing red hot, the square object that was flying around the ball of light. The ball of light had to have been about 12 feet in diameter, and the square was about 1.5 feet in dimensions. I got more stories if this stuff is okay. If you read this, just let me know if it's okay. Thanks again. The Taylor twins. In Mission. Got your back, Steve. Keep doing what you're doing, my man. Wow. Well, seeing those frickin' lights must have been different there. Yeah? And, yeah, you're right. I don't have time to take on the UFO shit. there's a lot of it going on out there already, right? And I've definitely seen a couple for sure in my lifetime. I have 3 or something, 3 or more now. Unexplainable lights. You know, one thing I was just starting to listen to this morning, and then I got out the door was, if you want, Google up and search for all of those school children in South Africa. They interviewed them as when they were children, and they interviewed them 20 years later. Found these people from around the world, and interviewed them again, as they all reported a craft that hit the ground, landed by a school in front of hundreds of children, and these beings came out and spoke to them. It's a pretty crazy, not crazy, but it's a very eye-opening experience shared. That it's just a real eye-opener, right? It's very interesting. I'm going to finish that up hopefully this evening when I get home. I can hear the token helicopter coming. God, I hate helicopters. Hello, Steve. Been following you on YouTube, and I like what you're doing for everyone, making it easy to talk about their encounters without the bullshit. My name is Dan. I'm from northwestern Pennsylvania. Started hunting with my dad at 5 years old, now I'm 55. I know our woods and game very well. I'd rather use my first name, Dan, as I get my balls busted by some people, even by a game warden, when I told him and others about a young mountain lion crossing in front of me, and I almost ran it over. So there's no way I'd bring up Bigfoot with 95% of the people around me. These events happened where I live. To give you an idea of the terrain, I live at the base of the northwest slope of the Appalachian Mountains. My land backs up to the mountain, which goes for miles of undeveloped land, and the mountain range runs all over the Adirondack Mountains in New York. There have been Bigfoot sightings over the years in the surrounding area. I have 2 good friends who had sightings. There is also an older report by men in a hunting camp on top of the mountain I live below. I never saw one, but I had strange events occur on one occasion. My first one is in my yard. It's about 9 p.m. The summer, just getting dark. I had an issue with my septic pump and had the lid off the septic tank to install a back pump I had. I was on my knees with my back to the woods and about 9:30 p.m., now dark, working under my spotlight. My mind was on the task at hand and not too happy about literally performing a shitty job. Out of nowhere, the hairs of my back of my neck stood on end. That sixth sense that never lies to me. And I got a chill up my spine like I've never had before. I don't scare easy, but this had me at wit's end. I popped on my feet and I sprinted to my deck like I was on fire. My wife was on the deck and said, "What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't see you move that fast in my life." I started staring in the woods and could now hear something big walking up from behind where I was, then turned slightly, and it stayed about 20 yards in the wood line. I had a flashlight and I shined it where I could hear the walking, but I couldn't see anything. It stopped and stood still for a while. Must have been looking back at us on the deck, and then it walked off. It spooked me to no end. That damn thing didn't make a noise until I was on my deck, which is about 8 feet high. It was coming up directly behind me. It sounded like a person walking, only at a slower pace. There was no eye shine either. That fall I kept hearing trees falling, big ones, with no wind on and off, mostly in the fall and winter. A couple times I could hear something walking, then it would stop like a person that would walk up to something and do a half a step to stop. Then I would hear the tree getting pushed over. This account was the strangest that ever happened to me. I was out working on a ground pool. I was squatted between the house and the pool, not moving much or making any noise, being I just working on wires. All of a sudden I hear this rabbit squealing, only about 30 yards from me. Being squatted, I popped to my feet and the squealing stopped immediately. I could see the rabbit, and then to my left I could see the bushes and trees moving, like something was running, but I couldn't see what was running. I looked back to see it and could still see the rabbit. I walked over. The rabbit was acting odd. It kind of just hopped away in the opposite direction of what I looked like something running. The rabbit was acting odd. It kind of just hopped away in the opposite direction of what looked like something running. I could see where the small branches were broke off, up to heights of over 4 feet, where it seemed something was running. The ground was hard, so I didn't find tracks, as I myself was wearing a work boot with heel, wasn't leaving tracks. I went into my house, heated up some dinner, and sat down and started eating. I was thinking about what happened. From the ridge above my house, I heard this loud howl from the ridge behind my house. My dogs picked up their heads and looked at me with a worried look on their face, cowering and put their heads down. Usually they would go apeshit after hearing a dog bark at the coyotes, howling cats, fighting, etc. The only thing that made them act like that was a bad thunderstorm. This brought me to think about a prior incident that I didn't think about until this happened. I was taking our older dog out through our side door on our garbage. As soon as I opened the door, this maple tree about 30 feet tall in my yard, all the leaves started shaking like mad. No wind at all. Not another tree was shaking. My dog started smelling the ground and ran over to the base of the tree and circled the base of the tree, sniffing up the tree. Had another strange event with the dogs. I had my yard fenced in for the dogs. I went out with them this one night, and I hear that similar walk in the woods, and the dogs hear it, but they are standing there staring into the woods, and they're acting as if it was me in the woods, wagging their tails and not barking. I hear stop walking. For the hell of it, I start growling like a dog. And not 15 seconds later, I'm getting hooted at by an owl from where the walking stopped. And it was around my height from where the hoot came from, and it was loud. I had a couple other similar events. If you'd like to hear about them, just let me know. Thanks again, and I hope you enjoy our time off and stay safe out there. Sincerely, Dan. Yeah, that's definitely a handful of creepy shit, isn't it, Dan? No thanks, right? That's a funny one with the dogs wagging their tail. Probably a good thing, though. I'd rather have the dogs wagging their tail than freaking out. When dogs freak out, I freak out. Well, the view's picking up, isn't it? Maybe I'll clear right off and be able to show you what's up the valley in a bit. Steve, I've had many incidents over the years that have brought me to know that Sasquatch people exist. I've never truly seen or smelled or even seen a definitive footprint, but I've had just about everything else. I've listened to your channel since about the same time you started sharing your Sasquatch experiences. I thought about writing my own over the last year or so, but kept resisting, as my experiences aren't nearly as scary, unique, or interesting as most of those you read. But then I realized that probably 90% of the people listening have had similar experiences as I've had without actually seeing them, and might benefit from hearing my more common type of experiences. So here it goes. My friend and I had a great 2018 elk season. We had hunted a new area west of the Unitah mountain range, approximately 50 miles east of Salt Lake City, Utah. For family reasons, I needed to be relatively close to home, but wanted to get away from the crowds, so I scouted out a spot that was close to town but difficult to hike into, with loads of elk. I'd love to find one of those places. Loads of elk. Nice. Sometimes I went alone. Sometimes my hunting mentor and friend was able to join me. While I was new to hunting and wasn't able to harvest that year, we had lots of close calls with solo, walk and stalk, and with my friend calling for me. We had a lot of fun, and we were very excited for the 2019 season. Hunting that same area in 2019 turned out to be a totally different story. I'd been following Sasquatch stories on and off for a couple of years, so I immediately recognized some of the sign when we first started scouting that year. We went up midsummer to set up some game cameras. We had chosen a specific water hole to set up on a camera on. Upon approaching the hole for the first time that year, I saw a set of crossed sticks that appeared to have been carefully placed on the game trail leading up to the water hole. Both sticks about the same length and diameter at 90 degrees to each other. I pointed this out to my friend. We went on and set up the camera. We went back to the water hole a few weeks later, set up a tree stand and checked on the camera. While setting up the tree stand, I noticed two sticks hanging on a broken branch stub on a live tree. See attached picture. These sticks were again at a near perfect 90-degree angle. The statistical odds of these sticks ending up like that would be astronomical. They were put there from some intelligent being. I doubt it was human. As we checked multiple cameras in the area, there were no elk on any of them. After what we saw in there the year before, we were surprised. In hindsight, I should have taken the sign then and moved to a different area, but in my ignorance, I persisted. I saw larger structures too, logs laid out in large grid patterns. See attached picture. Wood piles of straight sticks in approximate equal length and size, all neatly stacked to the sign of humans around. These could have been human, but my gut says it was not. I've seen large A-frame structures where the root ball is in the air, or clearly moved from where it grew with logs too far heavy or even 3 to 4 humans to move. As I sat in the tree stand with my bow, between scanning the trees and clearings, I would watch the bees and other insects near the water, birds flying around and hopping about, squirrels squawking, crows flying over, etc. Multiple times I had those times of eerie silence where there were no birds, bugs, squirrels, or anything, just dead, calm silence with no sign of life. Sometimes it would last for hours. In those times I never felt unsafe, fearful, or the need to leave, but I felt they were near. One time while I was in the tree stand, my friend was walk and stalk hunting about a half mile away and felt that eerie feeling of being watched. Another time walking into the area, I was alone, about 1.5 hours before our first light. I had my small LED headlamp on my head as I was walking in. I would typically scan through the bushes and trees from side to side, as there were often deer or cattle in the area that would be looking back. One time while scanning, I saw a pair of eyes looking back at me about 50 yards away. Large eyes, about 12 to 14 inches apart. That is frickin' huge. 12 to 14 inch apart eyeballs. It's like a frickin' great white shark or something, isn't it? Or a whale. They reflected green. As a side note, I have since paid close attention to the stories of Sasquatch reflected eye color. Most describe them as red, but some have described them as green. It was dark enough that I couldn't tell the height or make out any shape. At first I thought it was just a cow, but whatever it was looking back at me then ducked one eye behind a tree, peeking out from behind the tree with the second eye. Okay, see that's where it would be done for me. There isn't a one game animal alive that does that, right? That's creepier than shit. As I kept walking, there was a small patch of bushes that obstructed my view where the eyes were looking at me. After passing the obstruction, I looked over again and saw both eyes looking at me again. This time they both shifted to the side, hiding behind a tree. I can't imagine any typical forest animal, cattle, having the intelligence to hide behind a tree. I was nervous, but kept walking. Yeah, I would have been nervous. It's cold. I've heard that these beings can mimic just about any sound. One day I was alone, walk and stalk hunting, midday on a north-facing steep, dark pine forested area. I came to a nearly level shelf with a clearing or meadow on it, about 80 to 100 yards across. While just inside the tree line, I stood still, listening, looking around. While doing so, I clearly heard the sound of a zipper, like someone zipping up a jacket, coming from what sounded like 20 or 30 yards away, towards the middle of this clearing, but no one was there. I stood there for a while to see another hunter emerge from somewhere, but there was no place anyone could hide. I felt a strong sense that one or more of these beings was standing there looking at me, but I couldn't see anything. My sixth sense was telling me that I was not welcome here, and this was a polite way they were asking me to leave. I did. That hunting season was quite a disappointment. I should have left the area hunted elsewhere. Last summer, 2020, I was with my wife and kids at High Mountain Lake in central Utah in the middle of the day. I was playing with a sling, throwing golf ball-sized rocks across the lake, into the lake, and skipping rocks in the water, etc., when one of the rocks inadvertently hit a tree square in the trunk. It made a loud tree knock sound. About 5 minutes later, we heard a tree knock response back from up in the forest a few hundred yards away. I've heard tree knocks multiple times through the years, but having it as an apparent response to what I'd done was interesting. We never felt or heard anything else on that trip. The two scariest encounters I had was a couple of miles from the hunting pond as we were camping as a family back in 2016. One morning, I took off on an early morning ATV ride alone. Other than my dog riding along, it was about 6:30 a.m. I was a couple miles from the nearest campers, so I pulled out my .357 revolver and was shooting at some rocks I'd set on a tree stump. My dog hates it and cowers when I shoot, so she'll immediately perk back up when I put the gun away. But as soon as I had finished off the 6 rounds in the gun, I heard a deep, fast-paced thumping noise coming from about 100 yards away in the thick pine forest. I've never heard anything like it before or since. The best I can describe it is a grouse thumping its wings, but the pace of the thumping didn't change how a grouse does. It was like massive, deep drum thumping, roughly 3 beats per second. It was loud, though. Loud enough. Whatever made it sounded big. It made the thumping noise for about 5 seconds, stopped for about 10 seconds, and again for another 3 seconds. It did this through 3 iterations of thumping. I wasn't so nervous about hearing this odd noise as I was about my dog's response to it. She was cowering on the far side of the ATV from the noise, half under it, and did not want to come out. I finally got her to come out and climb on the ATV, and we went back to camp. It took her another few hours to get back to normal. I felt like the creature that made the thumping noise was unhappy that I was disturbing it and the peaceful morning and wanted me to leave. That night we were settling in for the night, I felt that overpowering feeling of being watched. It was so strong I could feel the direction it was coming from. It was so strong it made it awkward to even breathe at times. I've never felt anything like it. I didn't feel that sense that we needed to leave, but just that we were being watched, and it wanted me to know it. I hope that hearing these experiences will help someone out there. Like I mentioned before, I've never really seen one, but these beings are around. Huh, that helicopter's way down below me. Weird. I guess he's avoiding the fog. They seem to move and relocate from time to time. I'm glad I haven't had any closer encounters in this. Steve, thanks for sharing the facts. Thanks, Bob. Hey, well, thank you, Bob, for taking your time out to send all his experiences in. And I'll guarantee you that it's going to help someone for sure. Because, a lot of you guys don't see them, but I get dozens and dozens and dozens of thank you emails from people, messages on social media and stuff, saying how much it helped them to hear other people describing the exact same things I've seen or heard. So that's why we're here, right? Zero bullshit and getting the honest facts and the honest truth out. I think you probably see now, after listening to all of you, listening to each other, how easy it is to feel the cringe when you look at other YouTube channels that are covering these topics, right? Oh, somebody's here.